All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Face Off Sports Network. My name is Michael Hoff. You can feel free to follow me on X at the FF Realist. But more importantly, I'm coming at you today with some quarterbacks to start and some quarterbacks to sit ahead of week 2 of the fantasy football season. We're going to get into those. I'll just tell you, beautiful people, that if you'd like while you're here, please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. You can be notified every single time that we go live. We also have all this great content. So it's all for you. It's all to help you win a fantasy football championship. But let's not take any more time away from the actual task at hand here. Quarterbacks to start, quarterbacks to sit. The first quarterback I'm going with to start is going to be Mr. Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Quarterback 2 last week, 289 passing yards, 4 touchdown passes. That's the 5th time in his career in which Baker has had at least 4 touchdown passes. Listen, while the Lions held Matthew Stafford to only 1 touchdown pass, they were also one of 2 teams to allow over 300 yards passing. Now, do I think Baker gets 300 yards passing again? Probably not, but I will say that I do think he's going to get, right up there, 250, maybe a little more, multiple touchdown passes at the Detroit Lions. Those games indoors in Detroit usually tend to be high-scoring affairs. Chris Godwin appears to be rejuvenated, which is only going to help Baker that much more. You saw a clear emphasis to put Chris Godwin back in the slot. That is where they want him. It jumped from only 19.3% last year to a little over 40% in week 1 alone. So that's going to be good. And the script is completely flipped there. So those numbers, by the way, are as per Pro Football Focus. Listen, all this bodes well for Baker Mayfield. And oh, by the way, they've got Mike Evans there too. So it's a red hot start for Baker Mayfield. It's going to continue. Eventually, this offense will slow down, but I see no reason to tell you to pump the brakes headed into week 2, headed into Motor City. Let's go with some bad news here. Let's go with a quarterback to sit, and that's going to be Joe Burrow, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. He plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, maybe it's the loss of T. Higgins. Maybe it's the whole Jamar Chase contract thing, and he's trying to get caught up to speed. Maybe it's the offense trying to learn how to fly without Joe Mixon, as crazy as that might sound to some of you. But either way, Joe Burrow is struggling. He finished as the quarterback 27 on the week. He completed 72.4% of his passes, but he only had 164 passing yards and no passing touchdowns. The Chiefs allowed the 6th most points to quarterbacks in week 1, but this Bengals offense looks lost compared to what the Ravens look like, taking the Chiefs to the literal limit, lost by a foot, literally by a toe. So I don't think we're going to see that out of Cincinnati. I know we're all accustomed to those great playoff matchups where there's a high-scoring affair. This Chiefs offense, it's the second time I did that. This Bengals offense needs to figure it out. So at some point, they will figure it out. At some point, Joe Burrow will figure it out, but it will not be in week 2, unfortunately. So let's go to our next player. This is a player to start. We're going to go with Mr. Jayden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. Finishes a QB3 last week. Not every day you see a quarterback throw for 184 yards, but still finishes a QB3. Luckily for those who roster Jayden Daniels, he ended up having 88 yards rushing off of just 16 attempts and 2 touchdowns. So now Daniels goes up against a Giants defense that is absolutely abysmal. They allowed 6.1 yards per play. That was the 5th highest mark in the NFL in week 1. Yeah, this is an absolute dumpster fire with these New York Football Giants. So I expect them to feast. So I think we see better passing out of Jayden Daniels this week. And one thing we didn't see in week 1 that was almost alarming to those who roster Terry McLaurin, we didn't see Jayden Daniels throw the ball to the wide receivers a lot. I think that gets reversed here. I'm sure that was something that they talked about throughout the week when they went over the film. So I expect a more efficient Jayden Daniels, and I expect him to still run the ball, and I expect them to win against this Giants team. So again, that's my start. That's another start for me, Mr. Jayden Daniels. Let's go to a sit. Let's go to a player who used to play out in Washington a long time ago. Now he's in Atlanta. And I'm telling you to sit Kirk Cousins against the Eagles. One of the bigger disappointments in week one was, in fact, Kirk Cousins and that Falcons offense as a whole. I know TJ Watt had Kirk Cousins running all day long, but listen, returning from a torn Achilles, Cousins clearly struggled. Looked like he had some trouble getting into a rhythm. He had some trouble throwing off of that back foot. 155 passing yards, one touchdown to a massively wide open Kyle Pitts. Also, two interceptions, and two interceptions that were not good interceptions. It's not like one of those unfortunate tip passes. These were bad interceptions. So I was not amused or thrilled by how Cousins played. He's going up against the Eagles on Monday Night Football. And last week, the Eagles allowed 16.4 points to the quarterback position. Listen, is Kirk Cousins going to finish as a QB 31 again? No, I think that's a little bit extreme. I don't think we see that. I think we see him get a little better, but I don't think he's start worthy right now. He clearly is slowed down. And you saw Aaron Rodgers, who, spoiler alert, we'll get to in a second, for all that was going on with his Achilles, he played well, but we'll get to him next. He played better than Cousins did, clearly. I know the fantasy outcomes weren't as great, but as far as what he did on the field there, didn't look too bad. So we already rolled into this. So here's a spoiler alert. My last start at quarterback for week 2 of the NFL season is going to be Mr. Aaron Rodgers. He is going to Tennessee to take on the Titans with his Jets. So I like this matchup for him. You know, as a matter of fact, I had suggested to you guys last week to sit him. So good thing you hopefully did going up against that Niners defense. It's going to be an easier road. I get it. The Titans defense is underrated. They're better than people give them credit for. But, like I was saying earlier when I was talking about Cousins, the fantasy numbers were not there for Aaron Rodgers in week 1, but you saw better passing. And I also think that the Jets were kind of pigeonholed into an offensive philosophy because of the defensive matchup that they were in against the 49ers. I think this game here with the Titans allows Hackett and Rodgers to kind of open this offense up a little more, throw it a little bit more. You saw that second or third drive where on every third down, Aaron Rodgers just converted with dimes to Garrett Wilson. It'd be nice to see that outside of just one drive. I think we're going to get that this week. He had 21 pass attempts, and he did have an interception. And like I said, with Kirk Cousins having bad interceptions, this was off a tip pass. I believe this was the Alan Lazard. It might have been a hitch route there or a little out route, but yeah, tip pass ends up getting picked off. And again, play calling was abysmal. I didn't like it. Not suitable for fantasy football. Week 2 is going to be a different story. The Titans allowed the 4th fewest points to quarterbacks last week. But keep in mind, when you look at those numbers, that was going up against Caleb Williams in his first NFL start. Aaron Rodgers is a little bit more of a seasoned veteran than Caleb Williams, even though I know Caleb Williams has all the hype. I get it. So I think Aaron Rodgers bounces back this week. I think he is a right up there towards the top 12. I think he'll be on the back end of that top 12. But if you're looking for a quarterback to start, if you're streaming at the position, don't have one of those studs, I think you could do a lot worse than Aaron Rodgers. Before we get to the last player, there is a little bit of a spoiler on the bottom of your screen there as to who my sit's going to be. But I'll tell you, beautiful people, that if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it. If you have any fantasy football questions or if you have any critiques about this particular video, put it into the comments. Either myself, Anthony, Pete, Steve, one of us from this podcast will see it. We will comment. We will get back to you because we want to help you win. That's why we're here. And to help you win, I need to beg of you, please don't start Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is bad at football, and him and the Cleveland Browns are going to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. He finished quarterback 22 last week, but I'm thinking we're going to see a similar week this week. He only completed 53.3% of his passes. He had 2 interceptions. Since his suspension, Deshaun Watson he's not a good NFL quarterback. No one can refute that. He is so unreliable. He's always getting hurt. He's very inconsistent. Last week, the Jaguars allowed the 8th most points in week 1, but the meat of those points allowed was 300 passing yards. That was when they went up against Tua and the Dolphins. There is no world, and I mean there is no world this weekend in which Deshaun Watson throws for 300 passing yards. You know how long it's been since Deshaun Watson had 300 yards passing? 1,347 days. I looked it up. You can look it up too, but I just gave you the numbers. Since he has been the Browns starter, he has averaged 179.4 passing yards on a per game basis. 174. There's been Browns rejects of the past that have played better than Deshaun Watson's playing right now. I don't even see why this is. This is the most obvious play that I'm giving you here. I think we see this struggling continue into week 2. And honestly, I think we're going to see Deshaun Watson struggle in the NFL until he's out of the NFL, which, if he keeps it up with these allegations, might not be that far off, might not be that far away. But so those are the players I'm telling you to start and the players I'm telling you to sit. My starts of the week at quarterback: Baker Mayfield, Jayden Daniels, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, and the bounce back. My sits: Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, and Deshaun Watson all continue to struggle. Just watch the dumpster burn, folks. So that's going to be it for this show. Genuinely appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you comment. I hope you like it. But yeah, we're going to be coming at you with we will catch you on the flip side. Cheers.